Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Now, this is going to be a bit of a different video from the normal ones I've put up. I did do a brief introductory video that's up on the channel at the moment. When I set up this channel, I originally had aspirations of just doing all the trips and little bits that I do out, and maybe featuring about, I don't know, 5 or 10% about my condition and why I think it's important to get a bit of that information out, as well as maybe help inspire some others that maybe are struggling with similar diagnoses and things like that. Now, as I said in one of my videos earlier about vlogging is hard, which I'll put a link to somewhere down in the description there. Still getting used to that, so I don't know, I'll be a box here or down in the description, depends how fancy I manage to get. But a bit about me. You'll probably see if you follow me on Instagram, a lot of my tweets all have hashtags like autoimmune disease and things like that. So I suffer from an autoimmune disease. I was diagnosed about 3.5 years ago. I have a tendency of calling it an autoimmune disease because it encompasses many illnesses. Each one uniquely horrible in their own way. My particular one, I have what they call seronegative rheumatoid arthritis. I'll go into that in a minute. I just thought I'd do a sort of, I would say a Q&A about it, but I don't have enough followers to actually have any questions yet. However, I do remember all the questions I had when I got sick. So I figured I might just put some of those out there. Now, disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional by any means. This is just purely from my own experience. The joys of autoimmune diseases are that they are tailored uniquely for every client. So, you know, results may vary, and what you suffer from, symptoms you get, drugs that may work or don't work, all uniquely different for each individual person. So I'm not saying this is the right way, but I'm just going to cover a few things. So let's start with number one. Why do refer to it as an autoimmune disease rather than by its actual name? Now, autoimmune diseases cover so many vile illnesses such as MS, you've got lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, to name but just three. The list goes on, and I would be doing a disservice to try and remember them all. That actually leads into one of the other symptoms of this disease, which I've explained on my vlog, that I will leave in any time when my mind goes blank, and just then was one. There are a lot of illnesses that are covered under this wonderful umbrella. Short and sweet about it is, it's just a term for an illness that is affected or affects the autoimmune system. So the bit of your body that's meant to defend you from things starts doing things a little bit differently, should we say. So in my particular case with rheumatoid arthritis, the body incorrectly identifies what they call synovial, I don't know if it's not the synovial fluid, but there's synovial linings, which are the linings that you have in all of your joints. It mistarget acquires them as enemies. This comes and goes, it can be brought on a million factors. So my particular case, it went for my right ankle, it went after both my arms. In fact, when I first got sick, it went after everything. It settled down into just the right ankle after I got the treatment. But within a year, I lost the joint lining of part of my ankle and was rubbing bone on bone, so I've had to have some fusion surgery. And it has been quite a long battle. The joys of these things is, once it is triggered, it is a switch that cannot be switched off. It is there for life. You can get it at any age. There is a juvenile form, which is even more vile. I have a friend whose son has that, and it's a struggle as an adult to deal with it. How a child deals with it, I have no idea. You'll hear terms like seronegative, which is what mine is, and what that effectively means in layman's terms is there is a test you can do to test what they call rheumatoid factors, which if you have something like rheumatoid arthritis, it will give you a high reading. However, if you're seronegative, it's a stealth version. It won't give that reading. So many doctors will instantly look at the results and just go, oh, it's not that, it's something else. My particular one decided on gout. Had it a few times in my big toe, mainly if I drink a lot of red wine. And yeah, all over the body. Yeah, we had disagreements about that later, but that is a whole other story. However, we got past that. He made a good diagnosis and he looks after me to this day. So thank you, Dr. Nick. And no, not the Simpsons Dr. Nick, but I won't say his last name because he might not want this advertised. So, so I suppose the big questions you have. Well, I'm going to go with the one that I get off everybody. When they ask me what I have, because they can see that something's not right. I might be walking with a crutch, using my knee walker. Times like now where I'm having a lot of problems with my wrist and my elbows, so they're all strapped up to help protect them. If I lead with rheumatoid arthritis, I can almost guarantee you that the response 9 times out of 10 after that is, oh, my grandmother gets that in her hand. No. Not unless she actually has rheumatoid arthritis, in which case that's fine. But I would wager that 98% of those people actually only have osteoarthritis, and that is not belittling that at all, but that is a physical wearing of those joints and degradation of the bone, and completely different to your own body attacking you, which is what we have. So let's get that out of the way. But I have found the easiest way is to just refer to it as an autoimmune disease. Now, the flip side of this is it does mean some people will maybe take 4 or 5 steps back from you at that point. Can't catch it, kids can't catch it, no one's going to get it off me. I mean, if someone wants to take it off me, yeah, that'd be great. So the problem is you're given this diagnosis and the first thing everybody does is goes to Google or whatever website of your choice, and they start looking this up, and it's horrific. It's a very deep rabbit hole. You're not offered a red or a blue pill. You're just thrust down this rabbit hole and you go off. And it's very easy within 2 minutes, if you just Google that you've got a headache, for Google to come back with some result that will say you have a brain tumour. So you can only imagine if you type in rheumatoid arthritis, the kind of things you will get back. It's bad. Don't do it. Don't do it. Unless you know what you're looking for. Stick to recognised medical places, medical doctors. Don't go to Twitter for it. Don't go to Facebook for it. You know, find a support group. There are some on those pages, such as Facebook, but find support groups in your area to get better information. And remember, it is different for everybody. So the first thing you'll see if you Google it, I guarantee, will be image of hands with deformed fingers all over the place, and people talking about the fact they're on a kind of chemotherapy and their hair's falling out and they're sick all the time and they're bedridden. And yeah. Don't get me wrong, that can happen, all of those bits. But 9 times out of 10, this is either someone who's never had it diagnosed properly for a long time and it has done severe damage, and diagnosis is key, and it is hard work, and you do sometimes have to fight for it. I did. I spent at least 3 to 4 months fighting to get the diagnosis actually looked at properly and objectively, and I was just lucky that I found the right doctor at the right time, and I had a bit swell up on my elbow that they were able to take samples from, and all of a sudden over the phone I'm told this is what you have. But if you are not happy with the diagnosis you get, you go somewhere else and you keep pushing. And that is hard, because when you're suffering from this, fatigue, memory loss, brain fog, pain, lack of sleep, it's all there and it's horrible. So if you've got family or a support group around you, get them to help you fight to get the answers you need. But please do not read everything on Google. Okay, so you're diagnosed. I was told there is a set structure of medication to go on to. One of those is what they call the gold standard, which is from a family of drugs that they will hear referred to as DMARDs. So the 2 things you will hear referenced here are DMARDs and biologics. DMARDs are disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drugs. Biologics are a whole different kettle of fish, and I'll get onto that afterwards, but DMARDs we'll start with. So most likely when you first get diagnosed, you will be given pain medication because you need it. Trust me. And if your doctor doesn't agree with that, maybe ask the last time they hit their hand with a hammer, and then just amplify that by some, and then cover any joint that's being affected at that time with that kind of pain level. I'm not suggesting you give them a physical demonstration unless they're really being an absolute jackass, in which case, do what you want, but I'm not certifying that here. First thing they give you, methotrexate. Yes, it's a chemo drug. It is a very low dose. It is not chemo, but it is a drug that is used in chemotherapy. It's horrible. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and don't get me wrong, everybody's reactions are different, but it is not a great drug. At the end of the day, you're putting a poison in yourself. All of these drugs are designed to stop your immune system working properly. That comes with a whole other raft of lovely bits, but we'll get on to that afterwards. But at the minute, your enemy is your immune system. We need to stop it. When everything's inflamed, it goes into overdrive. When it gets agitated, it sends extra support there, and it's attacking the wrong thing. So we have to stop it. So methotrexate is the first one. Now, tip here. 2 different versions of it. There's a tablet and a needle. Obviously, I was never offered the injection because tablets cheapest for them. They come in a big pot. You take 1 a week or 2 a week, depending on your dosage. Problem is, I probably spent 70% of the week after taking that pill wanting to throw up all the time. Now, the joy about a lot of illnesses is that they give you medication to help them. Sometimes those medications cause problems, and they give you other medications to fix those problems. And then that medication causes problems, so you need to take an extra pill for this. And the next thing you know, you started with 1 pill, you're up to 20, and it's reminding you of that nursery rhyme at school about the old lady that swallowed a fly. And to be honest, that's probably a good analogy, because some of the pills are almost the size of a horse, but yeah, that's a whole nother story. So after being on that for a few months, and it's worth giving it a go, because side effects do reduce over time. And again, everybody's is different. Some people take the tablet without any problem at all. I found I couldn't without taking a lot of anti-nausea medication. And it was just pretty horrible. Luckily, I spoke to my GP and then my specialist. Specialists are called rheumatologists that deal with these. But I believe in some countries they also have immunologists that may cover this as well. But rheumatologists are the general ones you go to. And he said, let's switch you to the injectable form. And that was actually livable with it, except I don't like doing needles. So my wife had to learn how to do that for me. Sorry. Bit of a wuss. That actually made a huge difference. Now, don't get me wrong. You pick a day that you do this, and you do it every week. And I could estimate that I would do it on a Wednesday evening, and for Thursday I pretty much spent the day in bed. I was like I'd been hit by a truck, just no energy and flat. But after that, picked up, hardly any of the nausea, was much more manageable. So that's great. So that's the very first one they'll start you on. Now, if they're going hard, they'll also throw sulfur into the mix. Yeah, sulfur, like volcanic, egg-smelling, just the kind of stuff you want to put in your body, yeah? Anyway, they go for that. So I was taking 1 gram morning and 1 gram evening. It's pretty horrible stuff. It gives you terrible breath. It makes your mouth go a bit dry. But, it helps work somehow. This is where I don't understand everything fully, so, speak to a professional about it. But it basically amplifies the effects of the methotrexate and any of the other medication you're taking. They may also put you on steroids, but that tends to be on a short course. You don't really want to be on that for a long time unless you have to be. But it's very good at dealing with inflammation. And the key here is if you get inflammation, you need to get rid of it quickly before your body overreacts. So steroids are always good to keep on the back burner if you have a flare-up. This jumps around a bit because I'm mentioning things that haven't happened yet, but flare-ups, remember that term, we'll come back to that. So that's generally the gold standard that they refer to as for the DMARDs for the basic treatment. Next level up from that, you have biologics. These are a whole nother level. These particular drugs are basically a form of type living almost stuff. Basically, you keep it in the fridge. It is exceptionally expensive, and this is when I'm extremely grateful that I live where I do. So to give you an idea, the biologic that I was on previously, I would have one dose every month. It targets receptors in your body that the body uses to communicate about inflammation and things like that. So it basically, you have to try and find the one that's triggering you and find the biologic that works for that. Problem is, these things are damn expensive. So if you were to just buy it over the counter, which you can't, but if you were to, the full price of my one was about $1,500 Australian per month. That mounts up. Luckily, I only spend $40 of that because the government pays for the rest. Obviously, we're aware there's countries like the US where people aren't so lucky. I don't even want to know how much that costs there. I imagine a lot. Again, different biologics, different companies, various amounts. And I know a lot of companies like the one I was using, TaP&x, they actually have a program in the US to help people that can't necessarily afford the medication actually access it. So, reach out to the manufacturer. Most of them have a patient support group, which is really, really good and handy, and take it from there. Now, there are lots of other different ones. There's Humira, Simponi, I can't actually remember any of the others, but there's about 12, 14 different types out there, I believe, at the moment. So you'll be on those. You'll be on painkillers, anti-inflammatories, and whatever else you may already be taking. So yeah, it adds a bit of pillage. Not the correct term, but we're going to use that because we're not Vikings and I'm not going out pillaging anywhere. So pillage means a lot of pills. So I mentioned flare-ups. Once you've got the disease under control, good job. It's not easy, but you can get there. Now, they like to use a lot of terminology that's used in cancer treatment with these kind of illnesses, and that can freak people out a bit. But you will hear talk about getting into remission. Now, that is achievable. You can, if you're very lucky, get into those areas of remission where you can actually come off a lot of the medication. So, that's something to aim for. I was heading that way. We had to stop for a few other reasons, but at the moment I'm actually only on a new type of tablet. It's called a JAK inhibitor. I have the crude understanding I have is that if you think of a biologic, it targets one receptor, but again, you don't know which one's causing you the problem, so it's pot luck. You're basically throwing a single arrow at a dartboard with no numbers on without actually knowing if it's hitting. The kind of one I've just started on is like taking 16 darts at the same time and throwing them. So you've got a better chance of hitting, and plus point, it's only a tablet, so my life is much better. I am not needling myself anymore. Downside is it came with other side effects, and nausea's back, but it's manageable. It's manageable. The first few weeks were rough, but I got over that, and it's generally subsiding each week. So that's looking good. We've still got a few more weeks to wait to find out whether that's working properly, but so far it's looking good. Again, these are expensive. These are about $1,200 per month or per 28 days. So yeah, it's an expensive pastime being sick once you factor in you've got doctor's appointments, you've got all of these pills, you've got maybe physio, I have that once a week, things like that. Any kind of rehab that you're doing, it's tiring and expensive. Now, what words of wisdom would I give to someone that's just newly diagnosed? I asked a lot of people. I asked a lot of questions. I went through a lot of forums, and you have to readjust what you expect. And by that, I mean, initially I looked at what the illness was and all of the things that came with it, and I thought, you know what? I am not going to become the illness. I'm not going to let the illness win. I will not be defined by this illness. And you know what? That is a good mantra to have. It may not be as achievable as you want, but it's not 100% off the mark. And by that I mean, has it affected my day-to-day life? Yeah, like hell it has. I actually haven't been at work for over 3 years. I'm still employed. I was just getting back and then had to go for another surgery. So start of the new year, it's looking good, getting me back to work, hopefully maybe by February or March. But there are now things that I have to live with on a daily basis that are not just what people think you have to deal with. So they might see that, oh, your hand's bandaged up, oh, is your hand sore? Yeah, it is. But they don't then think, oh, I wonder if that was sore all night. Maybe they didn't get much sleep. Maybe it woke them up a lot. Well, yeah, it did. Now I'm tired. Unfortunately, one of the wonderful symptoms of a lot of these autoimmune diseases are things like fatigue. And I'm actually going to do a separate video. It's going to be a lot shorter one than this one. I didn't realise this was going to turn out to be as long as it has, so I apologise. But I've actually done it all in one take, which is odd. There's a lot of information in my head and I'm trying to rattle it all out, and it's probably boring some viewers, so feel free to turn off, go to one of the other videos I've got up. I will be getting more up, it's just struggle editing at the minute. But fatigue is actually the reason I haven't got a lot of the videos up. You have to ration your energy. You have to know that if you go out and have a meal with friends or go out for an evening, that you're going to be tired. You're going to be a lot more tired than anybody else is there. And it's going to take you a while to bounce back from that. So, yeah, don't let the disease define you, but you do have to adjust to compensate for it. Brain fog is another one. When I get tired, or if the illness is flaring, which is when it sort of tries to come back and you have to sort of throw things at it to keep it under control, which is when you need to have a really good relationship with your GP. I do with mine. As soon as I realised something wasn't right, phoned him up, steroids. Hopefully that's avoided it doing any joint damage. Now, yes, it's very hard to tell if something hurts. I'm mid-40s, things hurt already, so new symptom, who dis? It's not necessarily your illness, but you do need to listen to your body. So the main things I would go with is ask lots of questions with your doctor. If you are not happy with your doctor, change doctor. Get a second opinion, get a third opinion, get a fourth opinion. But get them from professionals. Do not get them from Facebook. Do not get them from Google. Because you are individual, the illness is individual, and how it affects you will be very much individual to you. You may be completely different to me. You may have tons more energy than I do. Maybe it's just because I've got old. I don't know, one of the two. But that would be one of the key pieces of information I would give. Learn that you will have to adapt, that there are things that you will not like that you have to suck up. I do not like walking aids. That's nothing personal to people that use them. I've just had to use them a lot, and I see them as a badge to say that something's broken with me. So I see the losing of those walking aids as a victory. So the fact that I have them constantly near me all the time implies that I've lost. No, I haven't. I've just learned that sometimes I need a hand, and you know what? That's not a bad thing. It is not bad to need help. It is not bad to ask for help. I have a knee walker. That was I was so glad when I got rid of my knee walker. Generally they're for people that have had ankle surgery. People use them for like 3 months and they're done. I ran the last one until it fell to pieces. It was over 2 years old and it was destroyed. And I thought, thank God I'm never going to have to see another one again. And then I had this flare-up and I couldn't get around as easily as I needed to. And I wanted to go out. I wanted to go and do things. I needed that knee walker. I hated it. But I've grown to accept that actually it's a tool. It's a tool to keep me doing the things I want to do. It's why I did this channel. because things hurt, things are a struggle sometimes, but you can get out there, you can go to some of the places that I've been and explore and live. You do not have to stay locked up at home in bed. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of these trips away, I've spent a few days in bed afterwards, but that's recouping energy. So I'll cover that in one of the next videos, a short one about spoon theory and energy conservation. But I hope this maybe has gone some way to explaining what I have. Probably the final thing, the question that people ask is, does it just go after your foot? Does it just go after your hand? And the answer is it can go after pretty much anything in the body. Anything that has linings, basically. Primarily it goes after joint linings in feet, ankles, wrists, hands, elbows. However, it does go for soft tissue, so it goes for organs as well, potentially. But that's less common, so primarily you will see joint deformities and joint issues first, but providing you get good treatment and good medication, you can stave that off indefinitely. Now, my final piece of advice, and this one will be controversial to some people. I've actually kicked some followers off from my Instagram because there are a lot of people out there that will try to profit from your desperation. Yeah, you don't want to be in pain, you don't want to be in discomfort, you don't want to be confined to bed, you don't want this illness, nobody chose it, nobody wants it. So you will try anything. And there are people out there that will prey on that. And there are people out there that will make promises to you that if you sign up to their wonderful eat celery only diet, that all of your things will go away. That's not true. It's just not. Now, that's not to say that there isn't some evidence that some of those things can help. So dietary, there are things dietary you can do to help if it's bad. I'm not doing them because I don't want to, but I'm not bad enough at the moment that I need to. But there are things like removing nightshade family foods, so things like capsicum, peppers, depending on your country, tomatoes, things like that, out of your diet can actually help reduce inflammation, increasing the amount of turmeric you eat as a natural anti-inflammatory. Those are not myths, there's fact there, but they will only help. They will not stop it, they will not take it away, and anybody that tells you differently is just out to take your money. I've had people message me on Instagram saying, I followed a paleo diet and it got rid of my MS, it got rid of this, it can help you too. You know what? If you were able to get rid of MS with a paleo diet, you would be rich. Because people with MS would do anything to get rid of it. My uncle has it, and it is a horrible disease. But going out there and peddling that kind of stuff gives people false hope and then throws them into more desperation. So if you're one of those, please don't follow my channel. Unsubscribe. There's no dislike button anymore, so feel free to just move on, go somewhere else, because I'm just keeping it real here. Just look for solid information from people that know. In fact, don't even take information from me. This is just something you can have in the back of your mind so that when you speak to your doctor, you might know some questions to ask. Or you might have some questions about, maybe you've heard something I've said that the doctor hasn't recommended. Just speak to medical professionals. Get their advice. Use things like my blog or some of the arthritis support areas as a guide on what questions to ask and what things to consider to discuss with your doctor. But please do not take them as I need to do that, because it's all different. So thank you for listening. I hope this made some sense, and if it didn't, that's fine, just move on to the next video. If it did, please give me a thumbs up, let me know. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Or hit me up on Instagram at the Achy Pom, or on Facebook at the Achy Pom. And yeah, the video about the spoonies will be up probably in a week or so. That'll just be a short one, probably 5-10 minutes. Won't be as long as this. And then we've got a few others coming up from the barbecue school that weekend that I did, and my trip off to the flotation centre, which I did today actually. So I'm feeling very zen, and it's probably why all this information came out without any brain fog kicking in. So that's a win already. So hope it was informational for you and informative, and all the other words that I can't quite remember now. And I look forward to seeing you on some of my next videos. They'll be less medically heavy. This is probably the heaviest one. And yeah, take care of yourselves. See you soon.